5:17 a.m. Eastern Mediterranean Sea, 80 nautical miles south of Cyprus. The surface of the water is calm, disturbed only by the steady wake of a carrier strike group moving west at 14 knots. At the center of the formation, the aircraft carrier USS Dwight D. Eisenhower cuts through the pale blue water, escorted by two guided missile destroyers maintaining a defensive screen several thousand yards ahead and astern. Radar arrays rotate slowly above the gray hulls, scanning airspace that stretches hundreds of miles in every direction. Inside the Combat Information Center aboard USS Mason, operators watch a stable tactical picture. Merchant vessels move along established shipping lanes toward the Suez Corridor. Civilian air traffic crosses high above the eastern Mediterranean. For several quiet minutes, nothing unusual appears on any display. 5:19 a.m. In the sonar room aboard USS Mason, the operator leans slightly closer to the console. A faint acoustic pattern flickers across the passive sonar spectrum analyzer. It is subtle at first, just a narrow band of low-frequency energy emerging from the background noise of the sea. The operator adjusts the filter and listens again through his headset. The sound becomes clearer. A slow, deliberate rhythm. Propeller blades turning at low revolutions. Not the chaotic signature of merchant traffic. Something smaller. Something controlled. He marks the bearing. 084 degrees relative. The contact remains faint but steady. The operator speaks calmly. Possible sonar contact. Bearing 084. The tactical officer turns toward the display while the system begins calculating range estimates from acoustic strength and environmental conditions. 5:21 a.m. The contact stabilizes. Range estimate appears on the screen, approximately 10 nautical miles. The sonar operator runs the signal through the acoustic classification library. The system compares blade counts, engine harmonics, and cavitation patterns against known signatures. Within seconds the waveform begins aligning with a category already stored in the database: diesel-electric propulsion, compact hull, shallow water design. The tactical officer studies the comparison bars slowly filling across the screen. Probable submarine contact, he reports. The information moves quietly up the chain. No alarm bells. Just procedure. 5:23 a.m. The captain aboard USS Mason reviews the track inside the Combat Information Center. The submarine contact, now labeled Sierra 1, continues moving southwest at roughly 5 knots. The projected track places it on a slow intercept path toward the outer defensive ring of the strike group. At this distance it is not yet a direct threat, but the approach geometry demands attention. The captain gives a brief instruction. Request airborne ASW. The message travels immediately to the carrier. 5:24 a.m. On the flight deck of USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, an MH-60R Seahawk helicopter is already positioned for rapid launch. Deck crews clear the area as the twin rotors begin to accelerate. The aircraft lifts smoothly from the deck and turns east toward the coordinates transmitted from USS Mason. Beneath it the Mediterranean stretches calm and uninterrupted, its surface reflecting the growing light of dawn. 5:27 a.m. Back in the sonar room aboard USS Mason, the acoustic signature grows slightly stronger. The submarine continues its slow approach. Range now 9 nautical miles. Speed unchanged. The sonar operator refines the signal once more, isolating individual propeller blade pulses. The tactical officer watches as the classification probability rises. The system now indicates a strong correlation with the acoustic fingerprint of a Ghadir-class diesel submarine, a small coastal attack platform operated by Iran's naval forces, designed specifically for operations in shallow, complex water environments. The captain receives the update without reaction. The contact is now formally classified as probable hostile submarine. 5:29 a.m. The Seahawk helicopter arrives over the designated search box and transitions into a hover roughly 50 feet above the sea. The crew deploys the dipping sonar. The cylindrical sonar dome lowers slowly into the water beneath the aircraft. Inside the helicopter, the acoustic operator listens as the system begins sampling underwater sound layers. Within seconds, the same rhythmic propulsion noise appears in the headphones. The helicopter has acquired the contact. 2 independent sensors, surface ship sonar and airborne dipping sonar, now track the same target. Range 8 nautical miles and closing. 5:31 a.m. Inside the submarine moving beneath the surface, the passive sonar operator hears a new sound entering the underwater soundscape, the distant thump of helicopter rotor blades. The commander understands immediately. Their approach has been detected earlier than expected. The submarine continues forward on battery power, propeller turning slowly to minimize noise. The commander considers his options carefully. Changing course too early could reveal their position more clearly. Remaining steady may still allow them to pass undetected through the outer screen. 5:33 a.m. Above the water, the Seahawk releases its first sonar buoy. The small cylindrical device splashes into the sea and begins transmitting underwater acoustic data through a radio link back to the helicopter. Within moments, a second listening point joins the tracking picture. The submarine's position becomes more precise. Range now 7 nautical miles. Speed 5 knots. Heading unchanged. 5:35 a.m. Inside the Combat Information Center aboard USS Mason, the submarine's track appears as a slowly moving icon on the digital chart. The geometry is becoming more concerning. If the submarine continues this vector, it will enter effective torpedo range of the screening destroyer in less than 20 minutes. The captain orders ASW weapons placed on standby. Crew members move through practiced procedures without urgency, each step deliberate and controlled. 5:37 a.m. Beneath the surface, the submarine sonar operator reports additional acoustic activity. Multiple buoys now listening above. The commander decides the approach phase has ended. Remaining on this course will only tighten the tracking solution of the surface ships. He gives the order quietly. Alter course north. The submarine begins a slow turn, adjusting heading while maintaining quiet propulsion. 5:38 a.m. The change appears immediately on USS Mason's sonar display. Contact turning, the operator reports. New heading approximately 030 degrees. Speed increasing slightly to 6 knots. The tactical officer studies the maneuver. The submarine may be attempting to reposition for a firing solution, or simply trying to slip through gaps in the sensor grid. Either possibility requires action. 5:40 a.m. The Seahawk drops a second sonobuoy to expand the listening grid. 3 sensors now triangulate the submarine's position. Range decreases to 6 nautical miles. The acoustic signature grows stronger with every minute. 5:42 a.m. Inside the submarine, the commander recognizes the tightening search pattern. The aircraft above is not guessing anymore. It is tracking. He orders a controlled increase in speed to 7 knots in an attempt to move beyond the sonobuoy field before a weapon solution can be generated. 5:43 a.m. The sonar operator aboard USS Mason hears the change immediately. Increased propeller cavitation. Contact accelerating, he reports calmly. Range 5.5 nautical miles and closing. The tactical officer quickly evaluates engagement parameters. If the submarine continues accelerating, it may attempt to escape the detection zone, but increased speed also increases acoustic visibility. 5:45 a.m. Engagement authorization is transmitted to the helicopter. The Seahawk banks into position for an attack run. Beneath its fuselage hangs a Mk-54 lightweight torpedo, designed specifically for anti-submarine warfare. The pilot steadies the aircraft while the acoustic operator confirms the submarine's exact coordinates using the sonobuoy network. 5:46 a.m. The pilot releases the torpedo. The weapon falls into the Mediterranean with a short splash before disappearing beneath the surface. Seconds later its propulsion system activates underwater. The torpedo begins searching for its target. 5:47 a.m. Inside the submarine, the sonar operator hears the incoming weapon instantly. A high-frequency mechanical whine cuts through the water. Incoming torpedo, he reports. The commander reacts immediately. A countermeasure decoy ejects from the stern, transmitting a powerful acoustic signal intended to draw the torpedo away from the submarine's hull. At the same time the submarine executes a sharp turn while descending slightly. 5:48 a.m. The torpedo seeker detects the loudest acoustic source in the water, the decoy. It changes course toward the signal. Seconds later, a dull underwater explosion echoes through the sonar arrays as the torpedo detonates against the decoy device. 5:50 a.m. The submarine survives the first attack, but its exact position is now unmistakably exposed. The Seahawk helicopter circles back while the sonobuoy network continues transmitting precise location data. Range to USS Mason now 4 nautical miles. 5:52 a.m. A second Mk-54 torpedo drops from the helicopter. This time the release point is much closer to the submarine's predicted track. The weapon activates almost immediately after entering the water. 5:53 a.m. Inside the submarine, the sonar operator hears the second torpedo approaching at high speed. The commander orders maximum maneuver, but the Gadda-class submarine has limited battery power and restricted underwater speed. There is little room to evade. 5:54 a.m. The torpedo switches to active sonar. Sharp acoustic pings echo through the water column, reflecting clearly off the submarine's hull. Distance closes rapidly. 5:55 a.m. A powerful underwater detonation follows seconds later. 5:56 a.m. In the sonar room aboard USS Mason, the acoustic signature of the submarine disappears completely. The steady rhythm of the propeller stops. Only scattered metallic noises remain as debris sinks slowly through the water column. Contact Sierra 1 fades from the display. 5:58 a.m. The Seahawk helicopter circles once more above the location. Sonobuoys detect no further propulsion sounds. No additional movement. 6:02 a.m. The carrier strike group resumes normal formation and course. USS Dwight D. Eisenhower continues westward at 14 knots while radar operators return their focus to routine surveillance across the Mediterranean. Below the surface, the ocean gradually returns to silence. Debris drifts slowly toward the seabed. Within minutes the Mediterranean closes again over the last trace of the encounter, leaving the strike group to continue its patrol as if nothing had disturbed the calm water at dawn.